Okay, welcome again to this video. This video is in the series. If you come across this video directly, it's in the series about the landing page. I'm building a landing page with different page builders, WordPress page builders. And today we're going to use the one called Divi. I want to use the Divi theme because I want to do this exact same thing as I did with all the others. So I'm using the default 2017 theme, but I'm using the Divi builder. So because of that, I will have to change my full width here to make it, I have installed a plugin called full width that allows me to have no header and no footer. Because of course, if I don't do that, I will have the header and footer and even the columns that comes with the default theme, and that's not what I want. By the way, Divi is coming shortly, hopefully, with the possibility, just like Elementor and others, to create your own header and footer. But right now it's not the case, so that's why I need to have a plugin like this one. Of course, if you are using the Divi theme, then you will have more control over that. So let's build the page together. All right, so now let's go back to the development, how it was done and so on. So the first thing, you'll notice that it's 32 minutes. So it's about 8 to 10 minutes more than with the other page builder, except Breezy, which was about 3 minutes more than this. So Breezy was really way more than all the others. But Thrive Architect and Oxygen were about 22 minutes and Elementor 24. So you see that it's a lot more. 10 minutes is not that bad, but if you think of the overall, it's in fact 33% more than the others. So with a bigger page, that could make a difference. Now, if I go back here, one of the little things that I can comment on is that there's no preview button. At least I didn't find any preview button. When you toggle that on and off, you have more tools. The save tool, you have history where you can change things and so on. You can also switch to the how do they call that? The wireframe view, which is similar to what you have in the back end, by the way, if you prefer to work in the back end. You can also zoom in and out. Okay, and of course we'll talk about the mobile and tablet views after. But there's no preview button, so you need to actually exit that, and the only way, by the way, is with that button, exit Visual Builder, and then go see a preview of your page and come back here if you want to make some more modifications. So not the easiest way to do things here. I'm going to try to do that differently just because I have a little plugin that allows me to have that menu here. So I need to go there and then click on my link to be able to view my page. Okay, so for the look, everything is all right. As you saw, I needed to put some CSS because one of the big drawbacks that I found is that there's no column level control. So there's no possibility to change the width, and there's no possibility to put some padding or margin or even the border on directly on the column itself. Sorry. They don't want us to change the width. I know that in the latest few latest versions, they have added more columns structure or layout, but still we don't have control over that. So we cannot say 20% or things like that. So it's predefined thing, probably based on Bootstrap 3. That's why probably we don't have what others like Thrive and Elementor are working now with Flex. Oxygen is good at that. So that's why we have more flexibility of clicking and dragging the width of the columns. So that's why we had some difficulties in those columns here where wasn't showing really, but I had to put some margin, a negative margin on that, and then pushing that with padding for my lines to align with the content here. And of course here I had to create some manual CSS as well because I didn't have any control over that. So that's one big drawback here that we have. Of course, the fact that we don't have, like I already mentioned, I think at the beginning of this video, we don't have the possibility to create headers and footers, so I needed to use a plugin to be able to get rid of those, but that's okay, it's coming, so not a big issue. One thing that I found a little bit strange is that there's no heading element, so or no header. So for example, if I want to add a new element here, I need to actually add a text, and there's a lot of things to scroll here, by the way. So that's why I was using the search feature. By copying and pasting, you saw that I went off into the text because it was copying the background color and so on. So that's why I went there. And like I said, you need to come here and simply specify that it's a heading and so on, like you do in regular WordPress editor. And then you go back to there, and whether it's a text or a heading, then you need to select the right one and style it, which is not that bad, but was a little bit longer because of that. And you need to decide the right heading, because for example, if you set here the text to be heading 2 and you forgot, and you come back here, you say heading text, and then you style that, and you'll see, whoops, nothing is happening. That's simply because you forgot to switch to the heading 2 here before styling your element. And if you decide to later on change that, well, you come back here and say it's a heading 3 instead of heading 2, then you will have to go and change everything that you have done here. Unless there's a way to copy that I don't know, but I would be surprised. Okay, so you could say, well, I'm going to keep that at H2 and I just need to change my elements here. Well, yes, but for the tag, for SEO purpose, you need to change the tag, which you're going to do in the section here. And of course, if you do so, changing an H2 to an H3, then you're going to have problems because, like I said, you need to redo that again. So that's another little bit drawback. It was easier to use than I anticipated, by the way, at that section here. It's just that you need to redo it over and over again. That's the little drawback. Overall, the experience was good, but still a little bit longer than with others. And I'm surprised a little bit of that, because I found that it was pretty easy to use. So I found that it's strange a little bit that it was longer to use than the others, and I don't exactly know why. You probably do more clicks than what you really anticipate. When you add a new section or row, it automatically asks you if you want to add, for example, a content, and I thought that would be speeding up things. Looks like there's still other things that will probably slow you down. And one last thing is about the one thing that I tried to use that I didn't have to use in this particular layout, but I tried to use previously, is the icon element. So there's a lot of elements here inside of that, and oops, okay, and I didn't check all of them, but I was pretty surprised that there's no icon element or things like that. So a little bit limited what we have here in terms of module. Okay, so beside that, still a great tool. One thing that I really like about Divi is its role manager. So if I need to do a website where I need to have more control over that, it's pretty sure that I'm going to use this one. Others have that feature as well, but not as developed as Divi is on that specific feature. Now let's take a look at if we want to change that layout here. So if we want to go from a box layout to a full width like we did with others, in this particular case I don't have an overall page, so it was section by section. So I would need to come here and simply set it back to or reset that like that. Okay, and I would need to do that for each and every element. In this particular case, of course, I would have to change my background image as well to say cover instead, something like that. And probably here my row instead as well, because I set it to full width. So here we go. Now I would have to do that for each and every section. That's that little box that opened and that we always have to change something and then click to validate. That's probably what is taking more time, by the way. I thought that there was a way to keep that open. Didn't find it, because if we click on that, it just expands it. Nothing really useful. And I thought that by dragging in at some point it was sticking, but didn't do that. So I don't know if there's a way that I don't know about. Of course, you can always put that in the comments if you know a way and help me with that, but didn't find any. So always having to validate that and clicking is probably one of the reasons that it was longer than with the others. So let me just finish that. All right. Now, if I want to change that, oh, by the way, there's a way to drag, click and drag here like we have in Oxygen and others as well. Personally, I wanted to make that more really pixel perfect. So that's why I went into the different boxes or options, but this is something that you can do as well. Alright, so let's switch to the tablet view. So here, as you can see, my little image here, I have the option in the alignment to have it always centered on mobile. The problem is that mobile is not only mobile, it's tablet as well. So that would be good on mobiles like that, but on tablet I would still like that to be left aligned. So if I toggle that off, then it will be left aligned, but of course if I go back to my mobile, now it's still left aligned. So I don't have that specific size feature here. So that's one little problem that I found. So I will need to work with that, probably adding some margin, something like that. I don't know. Let's keep it like that for now. So of course I can change some things. So in this particular case, so that's the image settings. So let's go with the column or the row settings. So I can change that by clicking on that little button here, and now you will see the desktop, tablet, and smartphone. So it's grayed out because it simply inherits from the parent. So if I want to change that here to say 10, for example, so now it will look like that because I still have a column that is that big. I could have a negative margin if I wanted to, but that will be okay, I think, in this case. Of course, I could change the width here, but let's say I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so you see that you have some controls by clicking on that little button here. On smartphones, it's going to be the same thing, but it will inherit from the tablet view, and that's okay in this particular case. I will probably remove that right section here, at least on mobile anyway. So like that will be way better. I think on tablet it's pretty good, so I think I'm gonna leave it like that. Now for the other elements here, everything's fine. Oof, those row here, automatically they take the full width, so now I will have some troubles just like we had with many other page builders. I cannot decide that they're gonna be one on top of the other here. So for example, sorry, I forgot to click on closing that. So I cannot say on which dimension it's gonna change from 2 column to, well, it's not really 2 column to 1 column, but you know what I mean, one under the other. Didn't find any possibility to change that manually, as you can see. So I would need to go with CSS and all that, which is a lot more advanced, of course, so not everybody knows how to do that. So that's really buggy here, and of course it will be even worse on mobile. So, and you see here I have a space because the border is in fact on the text, not on the cell itself. So even worse there. So something that needs to be worked on. Of course, many other page builder add that. I think from memory that Thrive Architect was pretty good. Elementor I think had that little bug, but I'm not 100% sure. And Oxygen, we have more control in CSS. So maybe it had that, but it was easy to fix from memory. But most of them has that problem, and it's really too hard to fix in this particular case. For example, if I want to change just the border itself, I will have a big problem here. I don't even know if I can do that on a specific size. No, as you can see, it's gonna change that for all the size at the same time. So I will have a real big problem here for that section. Here we can put maybe some more space. We have padding and margin on the size level, if I can say it like that. So it would be possible. Decided to stay on 3 columns here. Of course it won't be the case in, again, the mobile view. Oh yes, it stays in 3 columns. That's pretty strange. Oh, that's because of my CSS. Yes, I will need to change my CSS. Sorry, my problem. So I would need to come and put even more CSS here to say that at certain dimension I don't want that to take 28%, but I want to be full width and so on. So you really need to know how to do that to have the exact layout that you want. So not the easiest one of all the page builder that I've seen. In this particular case, this particular layout, of course, really always depend on the type of layout that you need to make. So it was not too bad to create the desktop version, a lot harder to create the tablet and mobile version. Of course, again, if you're more comfortable with that tool, you will probably know in advance that you don't want to do that type of layout or another way to do that. And I must tell you that I'm not 100%, I'm not comfortable with Divi. I've learned it, tried it a couple of times, and I mostly learned it to do this current tutorial. So there might be things that I'm missing. Of course, put that in comment and I will learn how to do that with your comments. By the way, if you need to change the structure of the different rows, you can just click on that and change it as well. So again, good, but not enough for my specific needs. Depends on your needs. And just want to show you quickly, by the way, I've talked about that, the role builder, role manager, sorry, builder, Divi role editor here. So you have, of course, different role, and I think if you create custom roles, it will follow as well. And then you can decide what is enabled or not, the plugin itself, and so on, and all the elements here, the library. And I think, yeah, here you have every module, whether they are enabled or not. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And I think that you might even have more settings with the I'm used more with the theme itself than the builder alone. So because I think that sometimes you have the option of simply editing or just editing the content. Well, I might be wrong here. So just to finish the performance, so on GT metrics here, like I said, I don't really take that into account, the performance score, because I don't have any caching, and I never take that into account because I can reload the page 10 times and it's going to be different. Of course, I don't do all my videos on the same day, so sometimes might be more traffic on the web and so on. So I base myself more here on the size and on the number of requests. So the size is the lowest one so far. Pretty surprising. Might be because of the plugin that removes the template. So that might be the reason. Okay. So I want to give Divi the credit that it might be lighter than all the others. Possible. But at the same time, since I had to use, like I said, the full width plugin, it has removed everything, the header, the footer, and so on. So maybe it has removed a little bit of weight there as well. Number of requests, well, it's average. One had more than that, all the others had less than that. So not too bad here, but could be better. Same thing with pingdom here. So page size 419, it's the lowest one. Number of requests, average. So this is my review. Of course, if you are seeing just that video, I really encourage you to look at the entire series. If you like that video, please put a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and of course add your comments below that video. So thank you.